for many weeks. But first, new arrivals are housed at once, for they must be comfortable while preparing for employment or training. Others discuss their housing needs and help them find a convenient apartment. When the new arrival makes a preliminary choice, arrangements are made. Single men and sometimes single women may live at the YMCA Hotel at 826 South Wabash, where dozens of activities are sponsored to make life pleasant for people in the city. Single girls are often helped to move into supervised girls' clubs. The Augustana Club provides room and board at reasonable rates. The carefully selected residents are usually young women who hold professional jobs. Sympathetic house mothers are always on hand to help with any of the problems that may face young ladies at work or in their social life. Families are usually housed in apartment buildings in residential neighborhoods, close to grocery stores and shops, and within walking distance of train or bus, which they will ride to work or school. When the family members have selected the apartment they want, Friendly Bureau staff helps them settle. Much is to be done on moving day. After the baggage is stored, location of grocery stores and bus stops must be determined. Rent payment schedules must be agreed upon with the landlord and keys obtained. Those moving into the more desirable unfurnished apartments must buy furniture. It is a long and tiresome day before the family will be settled in their new home. When the newcomer is comfortably settled, he returns to the Bureau office to consider plans for earning a living. If he takes training before employment, he may, after visiting several of the city's excellent vocational schools, choose one that teaches advanced electronics. He enrolls with Chicago citizens, some of a few months and some of many years, who are training to increase their earning power. Competent instructors supervise the work of trainees in television repair. Laboratory skills are practiced in a television station operated by the school. With an Alaska boy at the controls, a Montana trainee reads news and spot announcements, confident in the monitoring skill of a young Minnesota man. Other schools also specialize in teaching electronic skills. The important and well-known principle of armature winding, after being described in the classroom, is practiced by students such as these from Arizona and South Dakota. They will have many such practice sessions before they are ready to use their skill on a job. As instruction progresses, the work becomes more difficult. Complicated electrical circuits must be mastered. The intense concentration demonstrated by these young people from Alaska becomes increasingly important. Only practice and more practice will enable the hand to become the ready instrument of the mind. Barbering has proven to be a popular trade for many. Advanced students learn by cutting customers' hair in clean, modern surroundings. Some Indian graduates of barbering schools now own their own shops, purchased a short time after completion of their training. Mechanical trades are also popular. This man from the far west expects to earn his living as one of Chicago's many skilled auto body and fender repairmen as soon as he completes his training. A journeyman mechanic instructor teaches the principle of diesel motor adjustment. Later, these young men from North Carolina and the Southwest will solve actual diesel repair problems. Students such as this man from Utah enjoy their welding instruction under conditions similar to those in a regular shop. Only rarely is the city's demand for arc and torch welders satisfied. For those who have a reasonable expectancy of being hired by a contractor upon completion of their training, Excellent instruction in the operation of a variety of heavy equipment is available. The welding rod and the television tube do not appeal to everyone. A boy from New Mexico learns fancy cooking skill in the spotless modern kitchen of the Cook and Baker School. Instructors here insist on a high degree of perfection. They must, since their graduates are in demand by the best of Chicago's commercial kitchens. With artistic skill, this young man places the finishing touches on a fancy salad. With his classmates, who have come here from Indiana and Illinois, or Iowa and South Dakota, he prepares these attractive centerpieces. After 24 months under the watchful eye of his instructor, the student will be capable of a full range of cooking accomplishment, from peeling potatoes to the preparation of banquet specialties, such as these. Some young people find hospital work interesting. City hospitals offer training on the job for certain work skills. This man from North Dakota and the girl from New Mexico enjoy their training as X-ray technicians. Often, the very hospital that has done the training will want to hire the student upon graduation. For the young man or woman who completes high school, business colleges offer opportunity to train for good jobs in the business world. These graduates of Arizona and Michigan high schools begin their day. They concentrate on their studies, just as do the other high school graduates in their class. They listen to highly qualified instructors discuss the exacting skills demanded by employers. From books, they learn of business law and office practices. For many hours each day, and day after day, and week after week, they practice with the most modern equipment until they are able to hold a steady office job almost anywhere in our country. The new arrival who is seeking employment, or the recent graduate from training, discusses the kind of job he wants with an employment counselor of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The counselor knows hundreds of employers, the type of work they do, how much they pay. He makes appointments for the worker to see the employer. He gives this young Arizona man written directions to the interview. Often many such interviews are necessary before the newcomer finds a job. Bureau employment counselors, if there is a need, find more than one job for the same person. They also find part-time work in the many industries of the city for the student or the married woman who needs more income. In recession periods, it becomes almost impossible for unskilled workers to find employment. However, people with a history of steady performance at skilled trades can usually find work at any time. Many jobs are in factories that make equipment for American industry. Electronics, television and radio assembly, service and retail trades are other fields in which the newcomer can work. Welding is a popular trade that offers opportunity to many. Some Indian people, as this man from Wisconsin, do so well that they become foremen. This former resident of North Dakota, a graduate of one of the city's fine business schools, is using his training on a job obtained for him by the school immediately upon graduation. With this skill, he can be sure of a job with good pay almost anywhere he might wish to work. After the newcomer has been in school or on the job for some time, he begins to feel less like a newcomer and moves about like a long-term resident of the city. Buildings that once seemed so tall are not so tall as they were. Daily he passes the river and knows the landmarks beside it. streets that once bewildered him are no longer confusing. He has begun to feel at home upon them. He has learned that Chicago's fast public transportation system is more convenient than his own car. That a bus stop is always within walking distance of his home, his job, his church, wherever he may be. Women and children who might have been fearful of the L train during their first days in the city now use it with confidence. As the new resident works and plays in the city, he finds his life to be much different than it was in Oklahoma or South Dakota. He takes the rough riding and often crowded L to work. On weekends, he rides it to museums, parks, and churches. The women ride it to shop, the children to school. And as they ride, they talk to people and find that not all of them are strangers. But the most gratifying part of this new life for those who have their families is the home. This young lady is a member of a Mississippi family that has been in Chicago now for over a year. After living several months in the apartment located for them by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, they looked for and found another apartment. This contact with new landlords and new neighbors made them feel more competent in living in the city. As they saw more and more of the people in their new community, they saw less and less of the counselors from the Bureau. Hold it, there's the phone. The daughter is sure that it is one of her friends. That food is waiting. Still waiting. There. When a family first settles in a new neighborhood, the man and wife usually grocery shop together on the day the husband receives his paycheck. Most families soon learn to plan their spending so that the wife can make several trips a week, often with a friend from across the hall. After shopping at several stores, she finds one to her liking. One not too different from those in a small town on a reservation. One where her children will be remembered from trip to trip. After a time, the mother becomes expert in buying the most nourishing foods for her family. She watches for bargains so she can buy more things with the money that she and her husband have set aside for food. As she continues her life in the city, she comes to regard her trip to the store as a social time when she and her friends can visit. School takes up the daily time of the older children, just as working and caring for the family takes up the time of the father and mother. Hundreds of schools, some old and some new, are located throughout the city. Smaller children can usually walk to a grade school close to their home. Teenagers may need to ride the train or bus to high school. The children find classroom and playgrounds supervised by excellent teachers. They make friends with youngsters their own age from all races. Though earning a living and going to school demands much of the time in a week, there is time for play, free time, in which the family, the young man, or the young woman may visit the many parks or museums, or attend baseball, football, and basketball games, or recreation centers where church and city groups sponsor social activities. Swimming at the dozens of beaches along Chicago's lakefront is a popular summer sport transferred to indoor pools during the winter. Many of Chicago's Indian citizens enjoy their free time with non-Indians whom they have met at work, at school, or where they live. But for those who feel more comfortable if they associate with other Indians, some Chicago organizations, such as the Isham YMCA, has set aside certain times when only Indian people use their meeting and recreation rooms, their basketball court, their swimming pool. People in the city have problems too. Just as on the reservation, life is more than work and play. When a doctor is needed, courteous service is available in the city's hundreds of hospitals or health clinics. Some doctors are familiar with the Bureau of Indian Affairs health plan, provided for certain Indian people for a limited time. After this health plan has run out, the individual usually pays his own health insurance. This may be purchased through his employer or through the union to which he may belong. Personal problems may need the kindly help of a counselor at the Bureau of Indian Affairs office. Often the new Chicago citizen wants to return to his friends at the Bureau of Indian Affairs to tell of his accomplishments. This young lady has just won a special award pin for her work in the School of Art and Design. She is justifiably proud of her sketches, one of which has been published in a Chicago newspaper as an outstanding example of student work. For those who wish to use their free time to associate with their Indian friends, the American Indian Center is one of the better-known Indian organizations in Chicago. It is organized for and run by the Indian residents of the city who make up its voting membership. Here at a meeting of the Board of Directors of the Indian Center, Chicago Indian citizens take an active part in directing their own group affairs. They receive guidance from the dedicated interest of the clergy. They learn from the helpful and freely given attention of their white neighbors. The Indian Center helps Indians of all tribes make a place for themselves in the community. Under the capable guidance of Indians who have lived in the city for many years, members of a teenage social club sponsored by the center learn to express their ideas as a group, and as they enjoy themselves, they prepare for a more effective adult life. For those who are interested in Indian dancing, there is opportunity to do so. Approximately once a month, Indians and other Chicago citizens gather for family night at the Indian Center. Dancing is one of the activities. At least twice each year, the center holds fundraising programs, often with out-of-town guests in attendance. Those who have the time and skill may be able to join Chicago's well-known American Indian Dance Club. The way in which we worship is important to many of us. The Indian newcomer to Chicago finds that some churches make a special effort to welcome him. He may attend the services of his faith along with other non-Indian Chicago citizens. He may go to a church whose social activities are aimed at making him feel comfortably at home in the city. He may associate himself with a denomination that strengthens its spiritual ministry by extending a helpful hand of friendship to the Indian in need. Or he may choose to take part in services attended only by other Chicago Indian citizens. This, then, is the story of Indians in Chicago. There are 6 million people living along this shore of Lake Michigan. Chicago, just as any other city, has become a good place to live through the efforts of its citizens. Today's newcomer can enjoy the city's benefits only if he is willing to give the same hard work that newcomers of many races have given before him.